This show is sponsored by myoliveleaf.biz, myoliveleaf.biz.
Ginger Surprise. Please contact Hoshea or visit gingersurprise.com for details.
And the Hurricane Report, merchandise, and more.
Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
I know there's not much that I can say that would make things any better right now.
A visibly somber DREWBREES apologizing a second time to his teammates and legions of fans.
I just want you to see in my eyes how sorry I am for the comments that I made yesterday. I know that it hurt many people, especially friends, teammates, former teammates, loved ones, people that I care and respect deeply.
The Saints star quarterback referring to this Wednesday interview with Yahoo Finance.
Everyone is looking back now at Kaepernick's protests from a few years ago, and obviously they were always about police brutality, and now it's coming back to the fore, and a lot of people expect that we will see players kneeling again if and when the NFL season starts. I'm curious how you think the NFL will and should respond to that, and of course, you're such a leader in the league. What is your responsibility as a leader in times like this for the rest of your teammates and players in the league?
Well, I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America or our country. Let me just tell you what I see or what I feel when the national anthem is played and when I look at the flag of the United States. I envision my two grandfathers who fought for this country during World War II, one in the Army and one in the Marine Corps, both risking their lives to protect our country and to try to make our country and this world a better place. So every time I stand with my hand over my heart, looking at that flag and singing the national anthem, that's what I think about. And in many cases, it brings me to tears, thinking about all that has been sacrificed, not just those in the military, but for that matter, those throughout the civil rights movements of the 60s, and everyone and all that has been endured by so many people up until this point. And is everything right with our country right now? No, it's not. We still have a long way to go. But I think what you do by standing there and showing respect to the flag with your hand over your heart is it shows unity. It shows that we are all in this together. We can all do better, and that we are all part of the solution.
Breeze said players shouldn't protest police brutality and racial injustice during the national anthem. But after fierce backlash from fellow teammates and other athletes like LeBron James, Breeze posted this apology on Instagram, writing in part, "I stand with the black community against systemic racial injustice and police brutality. I am sick about the way my comments were perceived yesterday, but I take full responsibility." Breeze's first apology not good enough for some athletes, like former player Booger McFarland, who appeared to mock him. "I'm sorry for the way that America is crucifying me. I'm not sorry for what I said." Got it. New York Giants safety Jabril Peppers writing, "No, we heard you the first time."
Hall of Famer, safety, had this to say, looking like Frederick Douglass while he did it.
I'm going to just get straight to it. I see DREWBREES trying to do his part in keeping black folk down. You're a straight sucker for that shit, DREWBREES. We all got kids, so I'm going to try to mind what I say right now. DREWBREES, you're a straight sucker, man. You're a sucker for that, bro. Why you think all these young people out here protesting? Why you think they out here protesting? The looting, I can see you speaking on the looting and saying that's bad, you don't support that. But why you think all these young people out here protesting? I really ain't got no more words for you, bro. You're a sucker, man. Straight BS, man. Straight BS. And for all my Saints fans, for all my New Orleans people who still like your ass just because they want to win games, y'all right with them. You understand? DREWBREES, you're a sucker. You're going to be a sucker. You understand? Punk, man.
Steven Jackson, very close friend of George Floyd, said this.
Shout out Michael Thomas, man. Way to hold DREWBREES accountable, Mike. I don't give a damn if he throw you all them touchdowns. Hold his ass accountable. Wrong, bad timing, DREWBREES. Bad timing, bro. All right, you play for New Orleans and you live in New Orleans. All them black people in New Orleans that support you, DREWBREES, you got to be a little bit more sensitive to the timing, bro. You can't just be saying shit out your ass. Yeah, you should understand. But y'all got to hold all y'all white teammates accountable, bro. Fuck all that shit. You know what I'm saying? We got to end that shit now. Ain't no straddling the fence, all right? Y'all got to check y'all teammates. Michael Thomas, I salute you, bro. Fuck Drew Brees. Way to check his ass. If you ain't down with us, then, hey, you on the other side. All that friend shit and acting like you support us, acting like you really down with us, we ain't buying that shit. All that half-ass supporting us, we ain't down with that. The same motherfucker you half-ass supporting is the same motherfucker you throwing them passes to that make you get all these goddamn yards. Facts. But y'all don't like the truth.
Reese.
Listen, I'm going to echo the very wise words of Steven Jackson. Fuck Drew Brees. Fuck him and all these fake ass allies that sit up there and put these black squares, that put these PR release statements out there, and their actions say the exact opposite of what they are trying to telegraph to people. This shit is not a game to black people. People that are out there putting their lives on the line, risking coronavirus and all the other things, and risking more death and more brutality from the cops. This shit is not fun. It's not an Instagram game. It is real life or death for us. You are not an ally, Drew Brees, and anybody like you, anybody that agrees with you and your dumbass racist mentality. I am so sick of being patronized. I don't want to hear from Drew Brees. You're not a leader. You need to just sit the hell down and shut the fuck up. How about that? All of y'all out there that think that you're going to use this moment to show your allyship, even though your PDFs and your statements and all that other stuff does not align with how you have conducted yourself throughout your entire life, shut the F up. Sit down and shut up. You can listen to black people without making a goddamn announcement that you're listening to black people. You can be an ally, some of y'all that might be capable of doing that, without performing for people. Just do the work. Just shut up and listen. My blood is boiling. And to have that image of a black, what the hell was that? It's insulting, and they're not helping. Now is not the time for kumbaya. Now is the time to pick a side. Are you on the side of white supremacy, or are you on the side of black humanity and Black Lives Matter? There is no kumbaya with that. You're one or the other, period.
So, Steph, I mean, we heard a number of NFL players voicing their concerns. They've done it, a lot of them on social media. How is the league responding to those concerns? What's the NFL saying?
NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell now says the league was wrong with how they handled players' protests. This as the president criticized quarterback Drew Brees for apologizing for his comments about kneeling during the anthem. Well, Brees tonight is responding.
I just want you to see in my eyes how sorry I am.
New Orleans Saints quarterback Drew Brees' response came after President Trump tweeted on Friday that Brees should have never apologized. Brees shot back. I realize this is not an issue about the American flag. It has never been. Brees' view now is a reversal from Wednesday.
I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America.
Those comments sparked a backlash in a league where nearly 2/3 of the players are black. The league commissioner made his own apology.
We, the National Football League, admit we were wrong for not listening to NFL players earlier and encourage all to speak out and peacefully protest.
Radio, DJ, one nation, one station.
All right, guys, right now you're listening to the voice of Valerie Denise Jones. Hope you're having a great day. Wanted to take a quick pause for the cause to thank a few of you who have supported this channel. Those of you who donated, I appreciate you so much. I love you to life. Marie Davis, Bernard Johnson, Tomestis Vivian, Kataka, Lance Williams, Derek Muhammad, Bala Muhammad, Danny Davis, Alexander Plummer, and Darren of Rattel Ventures. Thank you. Big shout out to you. And for those of you who would like to advertise and or support this channel, please see the information down in the description box below. Good gracious, what's wrong with me? Anyway, see the information down in the description box. I am currently setting up Patreon. I just want to give you the best I can for your support based on the amount of time that I have, because I run several other platforms, so I've been taking my time with that. But Patreon is coming soon, ASAP. But outside of that, Cash App and PayPal Yeah, that's available. And again, that information is down below. It's free, though, to hit the like button, so please do so at this time. Hit that like button. Also, subscribe if you haven't already, and sign up for the alerts. Meet me also on Instagram at Valerie Denise Jones, and Miss Valerie Denise Jones. All right, so before I patch you into a previously recorded broadcast, I would like to share something with you because I am a bit torn. Some people get in their feelings, get in their bag when these larger agencies lend their support. So I would like to hear what you've got to say regarding. Okay, so I'm going to play this, and when I come back, we'll talk.
A socially conscious message about racism by Nike, which subverts its catchphrase, "Just do it," in response to the George Floyd protests, has caught the eye and sparked some criticism on social media. As tensions across the U.S. continue to run high amid demonstrations inflamed by the death of Floyd at the hands of a white police officer, the sportswear giant posted on Instagram a message to its 112 million followers with a plea that, for once, don't do it. The minute-long text on-screen video provides a simple backdrop to a message which states, "Don't pretend there's not a problem in America. Don't turn your back on racism." It goes on to say, "Don't accept innocent lives being taken from us. Don't make any more excuses. Don't think this doesn't affect you. Don't sit back and be silent. Don't think you can't be part of the change. Let's all be part of the change." The message shared on Friday night comes as emotions run high with arrests taking place in cities including New York, Atlanta and Oakland after protests against Floyd's killing turned violent. It also comes amid a backdrop of racial tensions over other attacks on Ahmaud Arbery, Christian Cooper, and Breonna Taylor. The ad was launched at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, and it was retweeted by rapper Travis Scott to his 8.3 million followers, with the message, "Let's all be part of the change hashtag until we all win." However, there is some pushback against the tone of the ad, with one person responded by tweeting, "This is an ad? Celebrities are F***ing sociopaths. You thought an ad for Nike is an appropriate response?" Under Scott's thread, another person tweeted, "For once, can humanity be more important than branding for major corporations?" Another tweeted, "Love you Trav, but this Nike ad ain't buying it for me." One person wrote, "If Nike actually was pushing for real change, they would support bills for legislation to help end this systematic racism, not just put up ads." One post next to the video, which by Saturday had racked up more than 3 million views, read, "Will Nike be donating money to help the legal fees of protesters who have been arrested? Or are they just jumping in a bandwagon to look like the good guys and increase sales?" There was a mixed initial reaction to Nike's previous stand on racial inequality and police brutality in
All right, so big shout out to New Today. That's the channel I copped that from, and also Travis Scott. Hashtag until we win. Hashtag until we all win. Yep. Lots of mixed reactions. So I would love to meet you guys down in the comment section to hear what you've got to say regarding major corporations lending their voice in an attempt to end systemic racism. Do you think that they should just donate money or continue putting up ads, which could equate to sales, more money for them? Lots and lots of mixed reactions. I'm not really appalled by that, but I really truly was appalled by the reactions that I got during Friday's show, the Just Joe Brown show. The panelists, they were all over the place, but yeah, they had a lot to say regarding Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock, regarding his recent post, and I would like to share that amongst other things with you at this time. So here we go. Here is portions of a previously recorded broadcast.
Where are you? Where is our leader? Where are you?
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is not impressed. The 48-year-old actor and former wrestler hit up Instagram on Wednesday night to share a pretty intense message aimed directly at President Donald Trump.
As we continue to wait for that leader to emerge, I would recommend to all of you that we must become the leaders we're looking for.
Okay, so he doesn't exactly address Trump by name, but he makes it pretty clear who he's talking to when he started off his 8-minute-long video like this.
Where is our leader at this time? At this time when our country is down on its knees, begging, pleading, hurt, angry, frustrated, in pain, begging and pleading with its arms out, just wanting to be heard.
Of course, Johnson is referring to the ongoing protests against police brutality across the country following the death of George Floyd, a 46-year-old black man who died after a police officer pressed his knee into his neck for more than 8 minutes.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
The Jumanji star also spoke out against All Lives Matter, a phrase that has been used to invalidate the Black Lives Matter movement.
Of course, all lives matter. But in this moment right now, this defining, pivotal, explosive moment where our country is down on its knees, the floorboards of our country are becoming unhinged. In this moment, we must say the words, Black Lives Matter.
The Baller star went on to call out the president for using military force against protesters.
There is military force that has been deployed on our own people. Looters, yes. Criminals, absolutely. But our protesters who are begging and pleading, our protesters who are in pain, you know, you would be surprised how people in pain would respond when you say to them, I care about you. When you say to them, I'm listening to you.
Johnson said he wants to see a better, brighter future.
I am not the president of the United States, but I am a man and I am a father who cares so deeply about my family, about my children, and the world that they will live in.
And he gave a shout out to the countries all around the world who have come out to protest in solidarity with the U.S.
I want to take a moment right now to thank the world for standing up with us in our fight for equality, to normalize equality. I want to thank all these countries around the world. Incredible, inspiring, beautiful displays of solidarity. We see you, we thank you, we love you.
Peace to the family. This is Dr. Enqi on the check-in to, I guess, Terry on our lovely celebrity who seems to be disconnected, but I will go ahead and wait for my fellow panelist to go ahead and introduce himself.
It's the one and only Reese on the radio, culture critic at large, and yeah, Dr. Enqi, I'm going to let you go first on this because I agree with you, but I'll let you go first on this one. This is an incredibly misguided commentary from Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and he may have lost a fan, but I'll let you proceed.
Well, I'm going to say this. That's probably the only area I'm going to probably disagree with you this whole show. I'm not going to stop being a The Rock fan. However, this sounds very crazy right here, and I think it's money is insulating people. And here's what I propose. And I guess maybe I should probably lead with this and maybe make a post or something. But what I propose is that we start a hashtag Black Demands Challenge, where we actually all use our platforms, use our voices, and just make 5 or 10, demands or changes that we would like to see come about after this whole situation, because the chaos is ensuing. And one of the problems I have is that I think we're going to drift into a situation where disconnected celebrities, disconnected black politicians, and then white politicians are going to collaborate on what they think is best for black folks that are in the urban cities and dealing with all of these issues that's going on. It's troubling when we think that Trump should put his life on the line to prove to the Democratic Party that, and it's just so crazy, it's so much to unpack, but we're talking about proving to the Democratic Party, who's largely funding all of this media campaign. Meanwhile, you had Biden out on the road with Robert Byrd everywhere until he passed away a few years ago. Jay Rockefeller, like these are the guys that's with the Democratic Party. And so if the president is coming out in the middle of riots that we know, all of us who are watching, we know there are different groups, different agitators looking to explode things, light things on fire, etc. Why would Trump not use a certain amount of force to clear out the space? Now, it is a shame. It's sorry that innocent people, innocent protesters, but from the stance of the police force, from the stance of the military, if the president is coming out and we saying, hey, back up, the president's coming out, and people are like, nah, we're not going nowhere, how do you distinguish between who's who? How do you know who has the bomb in their bag? How do you know who's got the explosive, the pyrotechnics, the arson? Like, how do we know? We have to. This is just a fact of reality that he has to take precautions. Now, if we want to point the finger, we have to look at some of these videos. We have to look at the audio from TMZ. TMZ has audio right now on their page with the New York police over the dispatch telling the officers that are driving patrol cars and paddy wagons to shoot and run them over if they're in the way. Then we have video, multiple videos, not of one scene of police in New York running over protesters, but multiple scenarios where police are running over people. And so people go, oh my God, look what's going on. Trump's got to do something. And they're skipping over the Democratic leadership that's right there, that's in control of this chaos.
There you go.
We're forgetting that all the places where this madness is breaking out, the extreme stuff, starting right there with in Minneapolis, these are all Democratic places. So when they hear certain things from Trump, what Trump is trying to do is inspire responsibility. Hey, hold on, control your city. That's your city, run your city. Run your city, do your job. He's telling people to do their job. It's your job as the mayor to work with your police chief to make sure this stuff is not going on. It's your job when the mayor can't hold on to everything with the police chief. It's the governor's job to step in. All of these things that's going on, we can't keep charging these to Trump's debit card. We're just sliding his pun intended. We're sliding his black card, his unlimited black card, and just charging all of the madness that happens to Trump's unlimited black card. To me, this is nuts. So, I'm just, I don't know. It's just crazy. And I think with The Rock, he's disconnected. He's got too much money. God bless him. Come on. These celebrities, this is the last thing I'm going to say. These celebrities that are riling folks up from their mansions need to knock it off. They really do. They're in their mansions with their service, their chefs, their nutritionists.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, Reese, for the sake of time,
Doctor,
if you could respond.
Let me back up. Let me back up a little because I'm gonna deal with The Rock and what I like to call the faraway friends. You have the super friends and you have the faraway friends, and the faraway friends are our celebrity culture. They're far away. They do their videos. They send out their tweets. They post on Facebook. Well, they pretend to be your friends from far away. They don't invite you into your homes. They don't put you into their movies. They don't contribute to the ails of your society or your society's struggles. They don't. But they all have something to say. They're your faraway friends, and they have something to say. And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is one of those faraway friends who has done something that I think is probably one of the most despicable things in the world. And that is he has redirected the conversation from George Floyd to himself. Now, you just played the news article that talked about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and his response to the President of the United States. And as you listen to that story, we all heard it. And in the back of it, it was all about The Rock. And the incidental was, he was replying to the death of George Floyd. George Floyd was the blurb in that story because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he was the star of the story. Dwayne is not the star of the story. Dwayne, you did not die, but with the knee of an officer on your neck. George Floyd did. He's the story. But celebrities can't help but get themselves out there, far away, making themselves the story, putting their image and their popularity on the front pages of newspapers and websites. Because
so Reese and
longer...
Dr. Enqi, for the sake of time, I want to ask you guys two questions. And then I'm looking for Judge. Sure. I think he's on the board. I'm going to play a quick audio clip. Two things. Do we need celebrities to bring attention to said incidents? And also, the other thing is, don't you think that what he was trying to express in his celebrity rose glasses, what he was trying to say is that it is an injustice to deploy military forces versus U.S. citizen, innocent U.S. citizens. Did you not get that message from that?
No, it's inaccurate.
Okay.
And his statement is inaccurate. His statement is inaccurate. And Dr. Enqi actually brought that up. But let me go one step further from what Dr. Enqi said. The bottom line is that we're not deploying the National Guard for protesters. That's not even a story. There's no truth to that story. The protesters are out there, and that is true. But the National Guard is out there because we know there is evidence, because we've seen the burning buildings, we've seen the destroyed businesses, we've seen the lifestyles ruined, we've seen the murder. I think it was 6 black people who died trying to protect their businesses while there are agitators out there destroying property. The National Guard has to be there to protect those businesses and those people, and the protesters too. We are not sicking the National Guard on protesters. We're sicking them on the disruptors, on the violators, on the criminals, on the looters. That has to be done. Why? Because it's evident that the police department won't do it. Why? Because the mayors won't do it. Why? Because the governors will not do it. And why won't they do it? Because politically, because you see them all taking a knee with Black Lives Matter, politically, they want this as a reflection of Donald Trump, even though they've been running those towns for 50 years. The squalor in which each and every one of those individuals who say that they've had enough and say no justice, no peace, is not because Donald Trump has been in office for 3 to 4 years. It has been because those people have been elected by those same people who were fed up for over 50. And the Negro loves a boogeyman. And a boogeyman can appear in your closet at any given time. And guess what? As soon as the boogeyman appears, once we've identified the boogeyman, we can make him responsible for everything that happened in 1962. If we try. And right now, that's what it is that we're trying. That's what's happening.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, let's tighten the reins.
Let me just add one more piece. I'm sorry. This will be a few seconds.
All right.
The other thing is this. Understanding how the chain of command works, right? The police roll up to the police chief. The chief rolls up to the mayor, right? So when The Rock says, what he said was kind of like, it was almost, it negated itself, because when you say, like, if you're waiting for Trump to step in, well, when the president steps in, he has to step in with another group. He can't step in with police because that's the chief and the mayor. So when he steps in, that looks like the National Guard. That actually looks like troops on the ground. That's so you can't say we need the president to step in and then at the same time say, why is the military here? You can't have both. It's one or the other.
Okay, let me
predicate this. Hi, everybody. How you doing? I'm enjoying listening.
Hi,
Look,
you're on the line with Dr.
out.
Enqi Reese, and I'm going to open up Stan Mason's line, and I think Brother Bernard. So I have 5 mics live.
Okay, and there are 2 others I sent you the numbers to look for, too, so look out for them. They'll be good. Look,
okay.
Let me put this in context. I saw video showing the late Mr. Floyd dying at the hands of the police. I have been reading and listening to black folk holler about white police killing black people. Now, I see video of unruly, rowdy young whites on spring break trashing everything on a rage festival. And I see them burning down black buildings, and I see black people killed at the hands, black businesses, and I see black people being killed at the hands of the mob. Now, I have heard some of these same people squawk about the injustices in America where black people are lynched or dispossessed or burnt out by the mob, and when the president calls out the military or attempts to quell this mob violence so no more black businesses get burnt down, then all of a sudden these same people start clowning around and acting in an illogical fashion, complaining about somebody trying to step in to keep black businesses, black lives are supposed to matter from being hurt because the local mayors and the state governors won't do anything. I find that incredibly hypocritical, it's illogical, and it's stupid. Now, with that said, I think that's a predicate that I'm going to use as a basis for the rest of the afternoon. Now,
yes, sir. Welcome,
great point,
Stan
John.
Mason, Officer Stan Mason, and also Brother Bernard to the conversation.
Hey, Valerie.
Hopefully you heard enough. Hello, everybody.
Hi, son.
You guys.
Hey, Valerie.
How are you? Hi, Val.
Hey, Judge.
Make sure you guys formally introduce yourselves to our audience so
this is
they
Brother
know who you
Bernard,
are.
Richmond, Virginia. Brother Bernard, Richmond, Virginia.
And Judge's son, what's your name, sir?
Yeah, I'm retired Officer Stan Mason.
Yes, I want to say something, Dr. Enqi, and everybody on this panel. Okay, what's really going on is a lot of undercutting that the news not telling anybody. Number one, these are George Soros paid.
Yes.
So, these are George Soros, Antifa, Black Lives Matter. Okay, if you go look at this thing, I put some notes here today. So a lot of these groups, leaders of a beautiful struggle, the Minnesota Freedom Fund, Jonathan Soros, the Center of American Projects, and Organizers for America are all nonprofits that go to the LGBT community. Yesterday or the other day, I think they were in the Senate, and Kamala Harris and Cory Booker are arguing about the anti-lynch bill not being passed because Rand Paul held it up. Another thing going on, they're still trying to pass this Equality Act. So when you see those paid protesters, not all of them, because some people, I was out the other day, and they'll tell you they're trying to recruit people to come in, but they're not telling you that this ain't about no march. These are white gays and black gays marching together and getting people, straight black folk, to march for something they have no idea what they're marching for. The Black Lives Matter's got a 12-point manifesto, and most of it talks about trans and gay rights. Very little to do with straight black people. It even talks about tearing apart the family structure. So when you've been saying Black Lives Matter, you really need to look at because I looked at it right here in Richmond, Virginia. Most of these protesters that were burning buildings, that was probably Antifa and other groups that been bust in, because you got to understand how these people getting around that much. But when you look at it, if the majority of the crowd is white, tell you something is off brand right there. That don't even add up in a logical sense. As far as The Rock and all these entertainers, these are just paid Manchurian candidate puppets that do whatever their masters tell them to do. I mean, it's actually, it's almost like a show. I mean, government is so scripted. I mean, you can almost, if you get behind the curtain like the Wizard of Oz, you can see what's going on. But, I mean, let's not forget, this month is June, Gay Pride Month. Another thing, one other big story, and I'll leave it in that, and somebody else can answer me after this. It's mighty hypocritical. Barack Obama came out the other day talking about we need to do police reform. But you had 8 years to do it. You didn't do anything. As a matter of fact, the same day you came out, they were investigating him and the others in the Senate for this Hurricane Crossfire. So a lot of this stuff is diversion from another issue to get you to focus on this. But really what's going over here is that a lot of these deep state actors are trying to save their skin. And they don't even want to let you know what's going on behind the curtain.
Val, if I could interject.
Let me say something with this. I want to add something to that little point. It's amazing to me to hear Barack Obama, who grew up as Barry Soetoro, to say that when he had 8 years and he did nothing, and when his father, who raised him, his adopted father, Lolo Soetoro, ran the Gestapo for, well, the Indonesian Gestapo for the Indonesian army, and is allegedly responsible for killing 500,000 Indonesians during the abortive uprising that they had 1959, 60, and 61. He's a mass murderer. And for somebody that was raised by a mass murderer who did contract hits for the CIA, was an oil tycoon and one of the 10 or 15 richest men on earth when he died, it amazes me that he wants to talk about somebody who's going to send out the National Guard or the Army to protect black people from getting lynched or having their businesses or their neighborhoods burned up and trashed by unruly students on spring break. That amazes me. Is like, how dare you?
Well, if I can interject real quick, just so that your guests know, I spent 25 years as a police officer in Waco, Texas. All 25 of my years were in patrol by choice. All 25 of my years were on night shift by choice. And all 25 of my years by choice were in the economic challenged communities that I lived in. So I'm an expert by just surviving through it. And, you know, I don't subscribe to a Republican or Democrat format. I think that politics is convoluted solutions. I don't subscribe to all these celebrities that have an opinion, but I'll say this. This is the big disconnect. And the judge has been law enforcement. He will understand. Civilians do not know law enforcement. You don't understand it. One of the reasons why we as police officers don't talk to you. And we don't know you. The reason why is because we see you as you, not us, be it black or white. The black police officer unions have remained relevantly silent until they're embarrassed by white police chiefs who come out, or until they're pushed into a position to where they got to come out and make a hollow statement. I've watched preachers preach these go along to get along late, Johnny-come-lately civil rights speeches that have no relevance today. They have no relevance. Example, I heard police chief and I heard mayor. See, we've given a pass to a very critical part of that infrastructure that most people don't know about. It's not in every city, but in many cities it is. It's called a city manager. My police chief in Waco, Texas, had an assistant city manager that was over us and the fire department. That assistant city manager reported back to the city manager, who in turn reported to the mayor. See, here's the invisible filter that filters out things that never get brought up. When we talk about police reform and what we want to see, we first have to understand you are dealing with an institution that has been resistant to change from its inception, which was developed on runaway slave catching. Let's make no bones about it. If that weren't true, then the show Cops wouldn't have any ratings, because all they do is run around in cars and on foot and chase people. So we have to understand the culture of policing, or go to information points where we can gain that information. And when we ask for reform, we don't want to make demands. You're dealing with a hard-headed infrastructure that has the support, by and large, of the white oligarchy in America. Period, point blank. That's just the way it is. And so we have to understand how we ask for or we request reform, and how we frame that wording is more important than what we're actually asking for. Because if you go in there with a set of demands, you're dealing with an institution that for 200 years has been resistant to change. They will damn sure be resistant to your demand. But when you say we have requests that we will stand by, or we have solutions, or we have proposals, and that's the way you frame it. Now, you have to understand, when you talk about police reform and the profession, the vast amount of the profession are the men and women that are out there on the streets, and the vast amount of them are good people. They don't like some of the laws, and they don't like some of the ordinances and regulations that they're passed down. I've sat in these roll calls for 25 years, and we're all looking at each other like, why are we doing that? If you want true police reform, put things forward that will get the officers, not the detectives, not the assistant chiefs, not the hierarchy, but that man and that woman on the street. That what could you give them to get them on your side? I'll tell you the first thing you can give them to get their support. We want, on a federal level, whistleblower protection for every officer, every sworn officer, not dependent upon what the county thinks or the city thinks or the state thinks, but it's federal. You will do it. If they say, well, the states say, well, we don't want to go with that, then the federal government says, that's fine. Then we're not going to send federal funding for law enforcement. So all your ticket programs that we as the federal government support, we're not doing that. All your federal grants to buy new tanks and new sniper rifles, we're not going to give you that. Because by choice, you don't want to do it, that's fine. But we're going to give that money to other places that are doing community policing, that are doing the power program, that are doing things that are productive and mean something in the particular communities they serve. The next thing that you need to do, and nobody wants to mention this, is we have to understand you have municipalities that are paying $500,000, $1 million, and they're like, the city is broke. It ain't the city's money. It's the citizens' money. Okay, so I'll tell you what you do. These officers like Officer Chauvin that operate with impunity, with long track records of disciplinary infractions that nobody wants to hear, I'll tell you what you do. When the city's got to pay that $500,000 settlement, then you take $50,000 out of their retirement. Take that out, and watch how quick folks get straight. And I'm going to end with these last two things, and I'll sit back and listen. Number one, I am not moved nor am I concerned with all of these white police chiefs or black police chiefs or politicians taking the knee. Because when I went out there talking, and I'm not making it about me, none of them, I was the bad guy. You know, they all want to take a knee now. That knee represents, I don't want this in my neighborhood. I don't want this over where I live. That's what that knee means.
Right.
And
now, I got a couple questions for you, too.
I'm going to you. And when I see, and the last thing, and I'll end with this. When I see these throngs of white people that, and they may mean well and all that, but I did the job too long. See, I watched all these white women that went to Washington and marched against chauvinism that turned around and voted for Trump. And I'm not going to make it political. I don't care about politics. I vote, but I'm just saying we can't put this in a political perspective because these politicians get in office. They don't care about the men and women, those of us that are starving, black, white, or otherwise, to make our ends meet, and those of us who are black. Because I'm retired, I'm not immune. Because I live in Atlanta, I better be concerned about Boston and Philadelphia and Houston and Dallas and Louisville because I may be there. And with that, I'll sit back and I'll listen.
Okay. Just
way
real
to go,
quick,
Wait 1 second, guys. Please, Lord. There's a lot of background noise. If you know that you're moving around, please mute yourself because I can't take that out. So I heard a lot of background noise while Officer Stan was talking, so I hope I don't have to delete that because the noise was sometimes higher than his voice. So
I'm
please
still
be
in the
mindful.
man cave.
It's not me either. Sorry.
It's one other thing that's going on here that nobody's talking about. Now, what are they saying? Now, I'm going to give you hypocrisy. They were saying that the people who ran up missing courthouse, they were terrorists, right? Remember that? Now they're saying, I stand with the protesters. Now,
Charlottesville.
What I'm saying, yeah, but you're saying I stand with the protesters, but you got to remember something. These protesters you have to have a permit to do that. I live in Richmond. I'm telling you, if you look at any city around the U.S., all these protests happen downtown. Why they don't take it to nobody's neighborhood? You know why they don't take it to nobody's neighborhood? Because they know if you come and put somebody's neighborhood, they might shoot you. Yeah, so it's a different animal. If you realize that all that happening downtown areas, they don't happen. And as a matter of fact, I think every state where it happened was a Democratic state. They pulled, in my opinion, they pulled some police officers back and let them do that because what I'm saying about Minnesota, Minnesota's population is 66.3% white. So the majority of people you saw doing this was white people. So you got to sit there and think in your head. I was looking at a clip in D.C. A black woman, she walked up to him and told him, don't spray Black Lives Matter on that because the media is going to blame us for putting it on there. And they said, I'm trying to help you. She's like, no, we don't need you to deface the Starbucks building. So you got Antifa writing Black Lives Matter on property, but that's actually them doing it. And then one thing about this mask thing, Antifa wore masks anyway. They were coming on college campuses before that. And you got politicians backing them. You got Minnesota's not a politician. But you hold on one second. And you had the Open Society Foundations, Obama. You had a lot of other people funding these people or being the driving force. In November 5th, 2014, you can go look it up. Barack Obama flew down to Ferguson and met with the Black Lives Matter protesters and told them, keep doing what you're doing. And that's why all those brothers, Joshua, Darren Seals, and I think about 6 other guys, they died all the same. They died in a burning car, and they had got shot. And that's not a coincidence, because Darren Seals, they called out this gay brother named DeRay McKesson, who was from Baltimore, and they was in St. Louis, and they were saying Black Lives Matter, and they got the money and went on all these trips and stuff. One named Netta was on the cover of magazines. And they found out that the actual activists were actually marketing, didn't get no money, but the people who were connected to Black Lives Matter got paid. And they actually had ran a counterintelligence program on them in Black Lives Matter in Ferguson. So this is also not just LGBT front. It's also a spy campaign to spy and take out certain activists.
If I can interject, and this is coming from my heart, certainly no disrespect to anyone on the line or their beliefs or philosophies or practices, God bless everybody. But, one of the reasons why, people want to know why we still have this policing problem is because we inject politics, our personal moral standards, all these things that have. I've worked hundreds of murders. I didn't look at the YouTube clips. I didn't wait till somebody shared a Facebook Live. I was there, black folks, white folks, or whatever. And this is how movements or just doing the right thing get drove down, because we introduce politics, and then and certainly it's not to you, it's just I'm talking in general. Then everybody goes to their little political camps out of allegiance, or their religious camps out of allegiance to the camp. Never mind the fact that they're bleeding too. And everybody wants to blame these figures, whether it's George Soros, George Bush, Barack Obama, whatever. Who cares? The fact of the matter is, we work crime scenes from right there at that scene. We don't work them from the police department. We don't work them from the city courthouse. We don't work them from the church. We work them on the scene. And I think that we lose a lot of traction when we get into political arenas, because nobody's going to leave out their political camp. They're going to defend it. And that's nonsensical crap. And I talk about... Let me finish my point, sir. Let me finish my point. I remove politics all the way out of it. Because I hear people talk about politics, Trump or Republicans or Democrats or Soros or whatever. And you know what I never hear anybody say? The strongest political faction in this country right now are police unions. Because whether it's Democrat or Republican, every single politician is begging for the police union support. And nobody says anything about that. And so You know, if we're going to look at the problem, we got to dig down into the hole where people are bleeding and dead and work our way back up to the top to have a full understanding of it. And we've got to be willing to accept the good with the bad, what we agree with, and that which challenges our beliefs, our principles, or our spirit. And if it is true, we must embrace it. You know, and that's the reason why policing has not reformed. It has not. And black folks have not fared any better in the police arena. I've been there 25 years. I'm qualified to say this, and I'm going to say I don't care about Republicans or Democrats or anybody's individual conspiracy theories or theories they can prove. I personally, for me, I don't care. Why don't I care? Because I've been there with those bodies that are shot. I take off my uniform, and I've been denied service. Officers called me traitor, Malcolm X. I take this very emotional. Because, see, I got skin in the game, and I've had skin in the game for 3 years. And I risked my job and my livelihood to get in the game.
Anybody want to add what my son has said here, add to it and say, living in principle?
Yes,
let me add this
definitely.
little thing to what he said.
Okay.
You don't live in the hood, but not only don't you live in the hood, you cannot now and you never could walk through the hood without an armed escort without getting your ass whooped. Now.
Okay. Here.
Right.
Reese, somebody's breaking up, but Reese, I think you were saying something, but there's some breakup.
There's a construct here that, unfortunately, I agree wholeheartedly that politics should not be injected into a lot of discourse, if you will, when we're breaking down what the systemic issues are, because in order to find a solution to these systemic problems, it has to go deeper than politics. You're 100% right. What it is that we've lost in a lot of ways are ideals, okay? And what I mean by ideals is the things that are the most important to us do not separate us by race. They do not. However, there's an old saying from the movies, and I love this saying, is that individuals are brilliant. People are stupid. And what I mean by that, what that quote means is this, is that unfortunately we find ourselves in our groups because that gives us protection, gives us solace to some degree. We have a sense of belonging. And to be a part of that group gives us comfort. And when we're a part of that group, we follow the ideologies of that group. And so sometimes that turns into politics, sometimes that turns into race, turns into all types of things, religion, whatever the case may be. We find comfort in that because we don't want to be individuals, because being an individual means that you're alone. Your own ideals, your own ideas. You don't want to be alone because the minute that somebody disagrees with you, you feel like an outcast. So we find our solace by joining groups. And that is where it is that we are today, unfortunately. So that's why politics plays a big role in the things it is that we do or the outlook that we have on life. That is just the way that it is. Can we get away with that? Perhaps. Will we get away with that? Hopefully. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen now. Why? Because there are people out there who need to not only have their point put across, but they believe today that what it is that they think and feel, most importantly, feel is relevant, the most relevant thing there is. And as long as they have people who agree with them, they are bolstered by that idea. I don't care what you.
I'm sorry. Can I ask your view on something? And I've said this at several neighborhood meetings, and I've been saying this for 10 years. This is what bothers me with leadership, political, and right now I'm talking to black leadership. Okay? There are good officers out there, men and women, black and white, gay and straight, whatever they are, they're out there. And we live in a world, our office is a world of unpredictable crap. That oftentimes is not the people who find themselves in the crap storm, but conditions that have been visited upon them by, I will introduce the political structure, be it local, or be it state, or be it federal. Now, that being said, they take their problems, their concerns, to the so-called black leadership. And they vent and they cuss and they say how they feel. And this is my problem with black leadership in America today. We've got so many black leaders that are so glad to be at the table, and they want you to know. I had lunch with the mayor. I had lunch with the chief. I had lunch with the governor. Who cares? Just because you're at the table doesn't mean you're not the main course. And then they take these people's passion and they take their energy and their drive and the commitment and time they took to take a bus across town to sit in your office till you thought it was great for you to hear from them. And then they come in and they put their hope and their faith and all their cares in your lap that maybe you can help change their condition. And what do these black leaders do? They take it to the people in a position of power to affect change and they water it down. They take the crisis and relegate it to an inconvenience. And then we wonder why we don't see results out here. The problem isn't always the people in power. The problem is the messenger. Hello, Reverend somebody, because we can't seem to do anything without a preacher taking our message forward.
Well, hold on.
And there's
a good point in that. There's a good point in that, and I'll be brief.
Let me just add this
There's
real
a good
quick.
point in what it is that you just said, and that is, listen, look at black leadership for what it is, okay? And I made a post about this, and I hope that people share it and get to see it. You just Black FM on Facebook, and I made this very clear. There are only three things that somebody can gain from this kind of strife, and it's always these three things. People do this in black leadership in general, the grievance industry, if you will. They have three goals, and that is to gain something politically, to gain something morally, and most importantly, financially.
Oh, I like you.
Those are the three goals. Those are the three goals. And as long as black leadership has found a way, remember, when you can take the grievance industry and turn it into a grievance business, black leadership sees that, from the Congressional Black Caucus to the Jesse Jacksons, who has Rainbow Push with billions of dollars in its coffers, to the Reverend Al Sharptons with millions of dollars in his coffers. They have found a way to literally profit morally, politically, and financially. And as long as that leadership is allowed to stand and never challenged, we will never ever see any reform, not just police reform or criminal justice reform, but reform in the communities in which they claim to serve.
Well, listen, that was the reason why I was saying at the beginning of the show to do, and it was just an idea to create a hashtag Black Demands Challenge, because what I see shaping up is the problem that always happens. So I'm in agreement with 99% of what's already been said. We don't need disconnected bourgeoisie celebrities. We don't need disconnected politicians. We definitely don't need the bishops and pastors that haven't dealt with the pedophilia and all the stuff that surrounded them to try to police or institute any kind of morality anywhere else. What we need is the actual common people, because take me, for instance. I got 25 years dealing with the NYPD.
Guys, where is that noise coming from? What is that?
Yeah, everybody mute your line really quick.
I'm on mute.
Just mute out.
Mute?
I'm on mute,
People
not
could
me.
just mute, that would be great. There's a screeching sound, like somebody's near a computer or something.
Yeah,
all right, and we are also in the second hour, so be mindful of that.
I'll be quick.
I apologize,
I'll
Dr.
be quick.
Dr. Enqi.
May I make just everybody mute up and let's see, so we don't get to have to edit all of this good stuff out when Valerie puts it in syndication. All right? Now keep going. And I have a couple of questions to ask when you get through, not necessarily you, but of the whole panel. Keep going, brother. Sounds good.
Yep. So what I was saying was we need to do the Black Demands Challenge. Hashtag Black Demands Challenge, where people speak for themselves. Make on your Instagram, your YouTube page, you put that out there, because people have become experts of police brutality from the outside. So you have the one aspect, which are the cops on the inside that are dealing with the issues that aren't getting protected. And that's crazy, because you got given protection to Tekashi 6ix9ine, but you won't offer protection to
officers that actually need the protection. But then you got the people like me, where I'm from 158th Street in the Bronx. When I was coming up, police brutality was a normal part of the fabric of life. It was a guarantee that if we was making noise outside the building, the old folks in the building called police on us. The police come, they grab you, put you in their car, take you up the street somewhere, beat your ass for 30 minutes, and then bring you back to the neighborhood or just leave you to find your own way back. And so you have experts on that side. And so I think those are the voices that actually need to be heard. And I think because of the political channels, the reason why politics keeps coming up is because that's kind of what's been put out there. But with now that people can be armed with this information, like, oh, we have to bust up these police unions because these police unions are not only getting the officers that are committing these crimes back on the force, but they're also making backdoor deals with the politicians. These are the things that we need to put on Front Street. So now that we have them on Front Street, we got to be able to act on this stuff. This got to be actionable intel. You know what I'm saying? So everybody that's listening to this show, wherever you hear it, this is actionable intel. We have to move out on this information.
You know, brother, I agree with you, but I say this to we can hashtag all day long. The black experience in America is nothing new to anyone. It has not changed in 200 years. We've been telling these stories back and forth. That's how we had the Green Book. We knew where to drive. We didn't have hashtags or computers. We knew. Our music has been putting this out. NWA, Public Enemy. You know, we are not the ones who need to spread it amongst ourselves because we already know. But what I say is that we give these officers, whether they're black or white, our friendship and support. Only reason I survived in Waco, Texas, for 2.5 years until I retired and never had a cloud of judgment against me, never had any negative thing in my file in 25 years, and scored the highest of anybody in the department on the civil service test in 1993 to this day. First minority to be Rookie of the Year in the history of the department. And it wasn't because of how many people I locked up. It was because of how many people I bought school clothes for. How many people. So what we need to do is just keep doing what we do and then meet these officers. And I tell every rookie officer before I retire, you can go out and buy all the guns you want. You can go out and get the level 5 vest. You can go get all this stuff. You can count on the SWAT team. But you know what? Until the SWAT team gets there, there's these people around you called citizens. The community backed me, black, white, and Hispanic, rich and poor. Why? Because I was transparent and I was real. And I was struggling to make my ends meet like everybody else and didn't try to hide it. See, when they see that you're real, they will back you. And when the community backs you, guess what? That chief won't touch you. That city manager won't touch you. That mayor won't touch you. Those city council people are afraid of you because if you slip and say who you support or who you might vote or who you like as a candidate, guess what? People will say, well, I hadn't done the research Officer Mason did, but if he likes this person, I'm going to vote for him too. They realize that. That's why you haven't seen community policing instituted. That's the number one reason in America. Waco, Texas had community policing. What happened, and I'm not bragging on me, I got very popular. I got very famous. I got very known in the community for being down to earth, for being fair. If you're wrong, I'm going to lock you up. And I'm going to come like Jesus, like a thief in the night. But you know what I'm going to do while you're locked up? I'm going to write you and say, when you get out and get your life straight, come find me and I'll get your job. And a lot of them saw that. So these people saw me as a servant, not as an overseer, not as a lord, not as a representative of the black community. I went out there as a human being that gave a damn about anybody. I don't care that you having a drug addiction to me is not a crime. You need help. And so when people see that you are a minister of that which is right, not just a law enforcement official or a pilot, that's semantical crap. Those are titles. They mean nothing. Everybody that has a badge and a gun is not called to do that job. But the ones who were called to do it are taking a beating behind the personal interest of those that are doing it, whether it's the city manager, the chief, assistant chief, politicians, the good old boy system that's in every department in America. And I think when we look at somebody that could be white, and we say, brother, you could be better, you could do better, you could be something, that person now believes in themselves. I tell everybody all the time, stop searching for a leader when you look at one every day you shave. You just got to find your calling and your goal. And sometimes, you know, I spend the majority of my time alone. I call it the judge. When I have a problem or something I need to think about, I work with a lot of people. I move around a lot of people. But I keep my circle. I don't have a circle of friends. I have a dot. Because every black movement has been overdone by too many friends. Oh, they got a title, so therefore I'll include them. Everybody of color ain't your kind. You don't believe me? Ask Martin. If you're not willing to do for the league, or if you do, I'm sorry, Val, go ahead.
That's okay. Guys, we are at 5:15 right now, so we got about 30 minutes of conversation. Judge, you had a few questions.
Okay,
I have one more topic
questions
to introduce, so I apologize for the interruption.
Question: has anybody brought themselves to take a look at the LGBTQ, et cetera, website?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I have.
Okay. Did you happen to notice their stuff in there about they should join the Republican Party and the Democratic Party and create as much, well, basically chaos as they can.
Yeah.
So while it's going on, they will have free reign to do what they do while nobody's paying attention to it. Has anybody seen that on there?
Yep.
I know about that group called the Log Cabin.
And
they're like
also, yes. Anybody also have this suspicion? You know, sometimes it's hard being black, but they've got a new minority you can join, and a lot of our so-called black leadership happily join this new minority. They wear boxers, but they drop their pants and their boxers to their ankles and bend over for somebody else that's got on boxers. Or they wear panties and they get out on their knees and spread somebody else's legs who's got on panties. And doing what they do, they become initiated into this new minority, and then everything's all right for them. They have some issues, but they have all of this backup. Anybody thought about that kind of thing? And talking about an Illuminati, there is a real Illuminati, but it's called LGBTQ. Not necessarily homosexuality, but this thing that they're doing is a political, social, cultural, and economic thing. Is anybody giving consideration to that?
It's called the Human Rights Campaign, Judge. It's called the Human Rights Campaign. That's one of their big slogans. They tell you human rights, but when they say human rights, for American progress and all these names, you think you donating to a good cause, but you really donating to them.
Let me say this.
We got to look at it from the scientific standpoint, right? If we look at a man and a woman can easily reproduce when a man and a woman come together. They can reproduce by making a child. Two women cannot reproduce. Two men cannot reproduce. The only way that people of that culture reproduce is by changing the minds of other people and bringing them in, indoctrination. So that's where I see that whole process leading.
Okay, has anybody read this thing since everybody's talking about BLM, Black Lives Matter? I'm looking at their points. Let me look at this. We work vigorously for freedom and justice for black people. Sounds good, right? But there's a caveat. And by extension for all people. We see ourselves as part of the global black family, and we are aware of the different ways we are impacted or privileged as black people who exist in different parts of the world. Interesting. Next one. We are guided by the fact that all Black Lives Matter, regardless, and it should be irrespective of actual or perceived sexual identity, gender expression, economic status, ability, disability, religious beliefs or disbeliefs, immigration status or location. This is a cute one.
Transgender brothers.
We make space for our participate and lead. All right?
We are
self-reflexive and do the work required to dismantle cisgender privilege and uplift black trans folk, especially black trans women who continue to be disproportionately impacted by trans antagonistic violence.
We build a space
Okay.
that affirms black women and is free from sexism, misogyny, environments in which men are centered.
We want to build a space that affirms black women and is free from sexism, misogyny, and environments in which men are centered. Traditional family. Now, I'll skip 1, 2. We make our spaces family friendly and enable parents to fully participate with their children. That's recruitment. We wish to dismantle the patriarchal practice that requires mothers to work double shifts so they can mother in private, even as they participate in public justice work. What the hell does that mean?
Okay, let me go one more.
Listen. This is the people you support. This is the most damning thing in their whole mantra. Quote, we disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure or requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. Western prescribed nuclear family structure. Every healthy family in the whole damn world has essentially the same family structure because that is the structure of humankind, but they want to disrupt it. Listen to this one. We foster a queer affirming network. When we gather, we do so with the intention of freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking, or rather the belief that all in the world are heterosexual unless some cis language or they disclose otherwise. We cultivate, this is a cute one here, we cultivate an intergenerational and communal network free from ageism. We believe that all people, regardless of age, show up with the capacity to lead and learn. In other words, they have this nonsense about the children are little people, not children. They can be like adults. In other words, somebody
that sounds like
16 years
pedophilia
old,
to me.
yeah, can come in there and deal with telling a grown person who's made it in the world how things are supposed to be done. We embody and embrace justice, liberation, and peace in our engagements with one another. Where did it talk about the traditional black family? Where did it talk about black men? Where did it talk about racism? Every damn thing in their manifesto has got to do with LGBTQ. Now, that's what we get out there and get to talking about Black Lives Matter. That is what people say. How can you down BLM? We got to support each other. This is not supporting each other. This is contributing to your downfall.
Well, let me say
BLM is Black Lesbians Matter. It is not Black Lives Matter because it's not all. It's just lesbians who want to disrupt the family structure, trannies who want to be queer, and people that want to go deal with being gay. That's not Black America. It's just nauseating, you know? Anybody feel like that, or am I way out in far left field someplace? All right.
No, I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%.
Look, I'm almost sick and tired of hearing the rhetoric of the quote-unquote so-called experts, if you will. And there's an analogy that somebody gave that said, you know, if you made a bet in Las Vegas on the Super Bowl and you bet on a team to win and they lost, you would never, ever get an opportunity after your team lost to go back and say, oh, that wasn't the real team that I was rooting for. I was rooting for the winning team, and then get your money back in some sort of way. These people are supposed to be the smartest people in the room. They're supposed to know politics better than anyone. They're supposed to be, in essence, you know, I want to say the wizards of smart, as Rush Limbaugh likes to call them. But they always get it wrong, and no one ever challenges them. No one's ever forced to wear a dunce cap in the corner of the room and never allowed on TV again. No matter how many times they get it wrong, they're allowed back on TV to prognosticate wrongly over and over and over again. And people no matter how wrong they get it, people keep coming back, and they have short memories. They come back and they repeat the same rhetoric that these idiots have already been proven to be complete idiots on. So I don't listen to half of the nonsense anymore because that's exactly what it is. News is no longer news. News is now sort of like the betters line for the Giants versus the Patriots. No one seems to care about getting it wrong. They care more about division and anger. It's become the soup du jour for most people. And I just, to be honest with you, I take it for what it's worth, which is nothing.
Now, in fact, I'm going to be less than 30 seconds. I'm just going to say that gentleman just spoke. Please share my information with him. I'd love to talk to him. I would absolutely love to talk to him. And I'll just say for me, I spent the majority of my life from the military to policing, serving all Americans, the most to the least. I absolutely refuse to be defined or guided or led by politics, Republican or Democrat. I don't care about either one of them because the eagle has two broken wings. And even when the wings were healthy, they weren't flying right for us. So I applaud everything he said. I mean, I co-sign it in bold letters, italicized, and underlined. You know, and he spoke for me, and I'll sit back and give back the rest of the time.
Hey, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Judge, you there? Look, I got to make a good point. Now, I'm just reading on my timeline. It comes out and says, black trans woman brutally beaten in Minneapolis last Tuesday night. Like, they're showing you this information. They're really pushing their agenda. But let me get to something that the brother was saying before that. Yes, the media and the so-called experts, they do go too far to push agendas and a lot of other things. And like I said, somewhere you got to get out the spider web and start reeling. And this is like a Monopoly game or a chess game they playing on you. So that's why I say sometimes you have to read it, but you have to go back and write stuff down and go look at. Let me say what I'm really looking at. Let me make sure this is right. You know, because they're gonna try to use a game. Everything is emotional. Like even with this FLOYD situation. Like I had a person tell me last week I was heartless. He told me I was a piece of shit. I said, why? I said, every time you talk about this, and I've got a different mindset. I think the police of the community should police. If that's a black neighborhood, black police should police it, etc. That was the problem with Joe Biden's community policing thing that I didn't like when he talked about community policing. The biggest part of this thing, whole microscope, is when you look at the whole deal, like, I don't know if anybody saw this yesterday, and Judge used to be in California, so I know you saw that. They're saying they're going to, George Floyd was a black man, right? So they came out and said yesterday they're going to defund the police department and give $150 million to communities of color, which also means this ain't really no black thing again. They went full into the script of communities of color, which we all know that could be anybody in it. And by them not trying to have protective classes in there, you can't define these broad roles. So I think sometimes when people read stuff, they don't go over. Like, Judge, I'm going to give you credit for something you did. You told me it was like, you know, when you're talking about the anti-lynch bill?
Mm-hmm.
When you read it, if something has over, it got a certain thing on there, like one act, but then you start seeing it's got 1,500 pages. Same thing if you do a police department or a police department law. If it's got 30 pages, there's a lot of things in there that just are more than just the law itself. I used to work in corrections. You'll think a correction officer, you just working in a prison. No, you transport. You do a whole lot of things. So it's a whole lot of things you sign up for when you do these things. So people sometimes need to go read and just stop being so emotional because they hear whatever, like, is a political, emotional issue. Because when we're talking about, I know over the years we've talked about, like, Trayvon Martin and all these people, but we didn't talk about the other 1,000 people that got killed, or we haven't talked about the other people that got killed. Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd are not the only people being killed by police this year. So they generalize one issue to get you hooked on it. But you really don't understand the dynamic in the game they're playing on you. And the officer on the line, he's right, because it shouldn't be ruled by politicians. It should be ruled by the people.
Right. Now, see, wait a minute. Let me just add to this piece, because I think what bridges the gap between your point of it should be based on the people and the point about the bobblehead dolls, the speaking celebrities, is I don't think, see, I agree with almost everything the officer said today. The problem is we can't downplay the hashtags, because the reason we're having these conversations is because of social media, because these acts are now being caught on video and being shared on social media is the reason why we're having this situation where we could possibly make some reform. These outlets that we have, like this very conversation right now, this conversation is going to be shared via social media, via hashtags. That's the only way that people have to directly speak their truth out to the masses. So in the mix of everything that we got going on, this is the main avenue where John Q. Public gets to say, you know what, blah, 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 blah. And if what they're saying is powerful enough, if it's vivid enough, if it touches enough people, it's going to be shared around the world, and then you'll see the effect of that immediately. So although there are other aspects and other things that we have to include into the solution, I think that we can't forget the voice of the people that are really in these cities, that are really, dealing with these situations on a day-to-day basis.
But faith without works is dead. Tell me what you're doing, not what you want to see.
Amen to that. Now, we in total agreement. We in total agreement right there. We can
link
that. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We can link, and we can move from there and make progress. That's the black people's problem in America. We've been listening to eloquent, powerful speeches that are hollow. They do nothing. We go back to them every February and we read them. But we have no works behind them. That's why we're marginalized. That's why people don't take us serious. We talk a good game, but what happens when you got to go out there and be quiet? Just be there. Don't worry about who else shows up. Maybe you're enough. When you find yourself at the protest, well, Dr. So-and-so said they'd be there. Reverend so-and-so, where's the media? Maybe you're enough. If you got a pulse with that community and they know you and you're real and you're putting action out there, guess what? Don't worry about who with a hashtag sees you. Worry about that homeless guy that comes up and goes, brother, I heard you speak the other day. I see what you do in the community. That, to me, means more power, because these people who have nothing are willing to share their nothing with you. Where people who have something always want to know what you can bring them. But I agree with you 100%, bro.
You know what? I agree with everybody so far, but you know what is lacking in this whole mix? The people have been seduced by the glorification of dysfunction over the last 50 years as a systemic reaction to people trying to get control of their circumstances. The statewide recidivism rate in Tennessee for all divisions of criminal court in the state was 80%. That means you're a convicted felon, you'll be back again. In my courtroom, it was only 18%. A warden asked me, how is it that you come out here and all of these people you locked up give you a standing ovation? I said, because I gave them a secret that has been hidden from them. They have a purpose, they just didn't realize it. So when they get out, they can deal with their purpose. That purpose is to be a man and do what a man is supposed to do as a man. And that will reform them. If you see me in Memphis, many people will come by and say, Judge, you remember me? No. Well, you gave me some time. And I'll joke and say, did I give you enough? No. Yeah, I needed it. See, it was that thing about being a man. That's what you taught me. Now, that's what we are not teaching people today. We are not teaching them duty, honor, responsibility, accountability, dependability, work ethic, and all of these manly things. And they need guidance. That's what people used to go to church for, to hear guidance, not chicken-eating Dr. Feelgood up there on the pulpit trying to make them love him because he makes them feel good, but because he tells them what they need to do right. See, we don't tell them that. So we are scared to have anybody come up and start trying to show real leadership instead of going rah, 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 be hedonistic and let your life go by, lose all of your gravitas, your dignity, and your hope, and become a clown who is addicted to trying to feel good and does nothing worth a damn. See, that's what we lack. And all of these things are part and parcel, I think, with what we are observing right now. Somebody, I just got something flashed on for Twitter, says, yeah, look at all these white folk going out there trying to get liberation that we're too afraid to get. That isn't liberation. That's just some unruly young folk, tree huggers, neo-Nazis, KKK simps, incel types, revenge of the nerd folk, and they're out there having to have a rowdy spring break. It ain't what it's supposed to be. It's a farce, and it's a way of letting off steam. And it serves the Republic to let these fools let off steam, and it's being turned into a political football by people that, as everybody has said today, don't have anything that is approaching a clue. Why do they keep putting Al Sharpton on? James Brown's boyfriend. That's why he used to honk his head. James Brown used to take him around. Why did they put him up there?
Let me answer that. Let me answer that, because Al Sharpton and I go way back personally. As I said earlier in the show, I said the one thing that the elite needs is a boogeyman. They love a boogeyman. We need a face to the enemy, as is Donald Trump today. Before it was George W. Bush. Before then it was H.W. Bush. It was Ronald Reagan in the 80s. It always has to be a boogeyman. No matter what your strife is, we need a boogeyman to blame it on. No matter where you live, no matter where you come from, no matter what your situation is, a boogeyman must be responsible. At the same time, we need someone, instead of personal responsibility, which we've lost. We've lost within the last generation. Personal responsibility, accountability, reason even. We've lost it. And Al Sharpton, thanks to the promotion through the media, has become, in essence, the knight in shining armor, particular political class. You don't see it in the Asian groups. You don't see it in the Polish groups. You don't see it in the Spanish groups. You do see it in the black groups, who pretty much the most marginalized group in America, the African American community. And because we need, in essence, to have someone to be that knight in shining armor, of course, promoted by the media, Al Sharpton will always be that person. Remember, if you pay attention, for 8 years, between 2009 and 2016, there was barely the promotion, if you will, of Al Sharpton, because we had our other black savior, Barack Hussein Obama. And then before that, it was Jesse Jackson. And then before that, the only person who I see or deem as being, quote-unquote, a person of reason who we can consider the savior then was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But the template was set with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that everybody needed the next one. Jesse Jackson was supposed to be next in line. And then Al Sharpton came into play, and then he became the next one. So the reason why Al Sharpton is put out there are people out there, you ask the average African-American person, they'll tell you over and over again, oh, I don't subscribe to Al Sharpton, I don't subscribe to Al Sharpton. But if you let the media tell it, they would make you believe, or lead you to believe, that every African-American in the country marches to the beat of Al Sharpton's drum. That's the reason why he's out there, because, again, the media can make you, or if the media does make you, it certainly can break you. And no matter what his scandal, no matter what his discretions may be, Tawana Brawley, they will still promote him as long as he promotes what it is their agenda. You make sure you keep pushing our agenda, and we will make sure that you stay in our good graces. To give you the perfect example of that, in 2004, one black man stood in front of the NAACP at their annual event and called out black people for their accountability or lack thereof and their responsibility. And they spent the next 20 years destroying him until he was locked up in jail. That man is William H. Cosby. The day began when he got in the NAACP stage and called out black people for their rap music, for the way that they talk, their lack of education, their refusal to get an education. And guys like Michael Eric Tyson and Cornel West went out to destroy that man until they did. Now, again, that notwithstanding who Bill Cosby is and what it is that he's responsible for. But they knew all of that when they were promoting him through the Cosby Show and the Cosby Kids and all that other stuff. They knew it all. It was an open secret. It was a well-known secret. Harvey Weinstein, all these things, open secret. But as long as he was promoting their agenda, they protected him until he turned on them. And that's when they began the destruction of him. And Al Sharpton will get his day if he should ever commit the most egregious crime ever. They will finally turn their backs on him, and they'll find the next quote-unquote leader, maybe Cory Booker. But until then, as long as he preaches what it is that the media wants him to preach, he will be in good standing with them, and he'll continue to be promoted.
Excuse me, sir, about Al Sharpton. You know something else about Al Sharpton nobody's talking about? Okay, it's something about Al Sharpton. A lot of people don't know. Yes, Judge said something about James Brown, but this guy, he had a lawyer on the other day named Rubenstein or something. Rubenstein is a Jewish lawyer that had gotten in trouble for raping a black woman and all that. And this is a guy
that was a member of Al Sharpton's staff, and it turns out that Rubenstein actually was using Al Sharpton's Viagra. Mm-hmm. That's a fact.
Yeah,
that's not conjecture.
I know about it. I was just reading it the other day, and I'm sitting there saying, so you got to look at who's around Al Sharpton. He got high people, Harvey Weinstein, pedophiles, all in the house with him. Al Sharpton had a tax evasion thing. You mean to tell me you owe all this money in taxes, you ain't locked up? You mean and they give you a job on MSNBC? They cooked the deal with Al Sharpton. So Al Sharpton, look, we're supposed to lock you up, but if you further our agenda, we're going to look out for you. Come on, man. Think about it. He was like Obama's pit bull. You know, every time somebody says something about Obama, Al Sharpton to the rescue. He's at the White House all the time. Al Sharpton, you're a preacher, man. Why are you getting so much notoriety?
Yeah, but that's not. You know what? That's an interesting thing because Al Sharpton. We all know that in 2007, when Barack Obama announced that he was running for president, February of 2007, in fact, the likes of Charles Rangel, the likes of Al Sharpton, the likes of Calvin Meeks, the likes of who's the other one that was out there? Even Jesse Jackson. They had hitched their wagon to none other than Hillary Clinton, if you remember that.
That's right.
It was when later on after South Carolina, much later in the primary, was when all of a sudden everybody who was part of any black leadership had finally hitched their wagon to Barack Obama. So when everybody starts talking about how all of these quote-unquote black leaders were supporting Barack Obama, I said one thing and one thing alone. They were all told, and this is a fact, they were all told that Hillary Clinton's campaign was going to be derailed, which it was by the media, because they called her entitled, and because they knew that there was one thing that they wanted to do, and that was how prolific, how dynamic would it be as an electorate if we could put on the ticket the first African-American nominee for the Democrat Party. Imagine what it would say for us as a Democrat Party. Hillary is the dynasty. Sure, we'll give it to her next time, but we have to put Barack Obama on the ticket. And the media immediately turned on Hillary Clinton and everything it is that she had done for the party and went after the first black president that nobody knew. And I say nobody knew.
Well, I think the most important thing to tie that up is the fact that on this show right here, going to bring people's attention back to it because I think it's so important. I want to make sure that listeners refer back to it, is the judge has exposed the real Illuminati that's operating behind the scenes here and their initiatory processes. So I want people to make sure they rewind this back and listen to that in detail. That is powerful right there.
Yeah, but I call it the liberal lottie. I call it the liberal lottie. People call it the Illuminati. It's the liberal lottie. Why do I mean that? Okay? Liberals in this country, they're the only people who fail upward. Okay? Fail upward. It doesn't matter how bad you do in society, as long as you promote the agenda, you will lose your job. It doesn't matter whether or not the audience cares. It doesn't matter whether or not you lose support. It doesn't matter whether or not you lose elections. You will be promoted. All you need, I'd take two people, and in fact, I'll take one that's in recent history. None other than Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams lost the governorship in Georgia. Lost it. Okay? But she had an expose in the Washington Post where they made her look like a superhero. The woman won nothing. But she promotes the right agenda, and they will promote her as the next coming. No matter how she loses, no matter how many people reject her, she is protected by the liberal class, and she is promoted as a deity.
I wonder if they're going to change the narrative once they see, once these pictures circulate and people clearly see that Jay Alexander is either mixed with black folks or fully black with this whole program that they got going on.
Hey, hold on, sir. I got one thing to say about that, about Stacey Abrams. And she always talks about voter suppression, right? But she won't admit that a lot of black men in Georgia just said, I'm not voting for this woman. So a lot of times when they say voter suppression, yes, it happens. But a lot of people did not come out to vote for that woman. That's another reason why she lost. They were black men. So they knew something about her.
Yeah, but again, this is my point. How is Stacey Abrams being failed? This woman lost the major election to be governor of Georgia, but yet she is a front runner to be Joe Biden's vice president. Because again, the agenda in the liberal lottie is to fail upward, and that's why. Because you know what it is. Because in liberalism, you never lose. You never lose. It's always somebody else's fault. Someone's cheating. Someone denied you. Someone obviously, the jig is up.
Trump's fault. It's all Trump.
Right. It's always somebody else's fault. It has nothing to do with your policies. It has nothing to do with who it is that you are. It has nothing to do with your corrupt ideology. It has to do with somebody else cheated you. Because in their eyes, if you thoroughly reject them, if you reject who it is that they are, it's not their fault. It's not an opportunity to do an autopsy on what it is that you believe or what it is that you put out there for the American people. Right? It's never. Remember, after every election, what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to do an autopsy on why you lost. Right? It's never that. It's never that. They never do an autopsy of the policies in which they put forward that people rejected and why they rejected them. There's no autopsy ever done. It's always because somebody cheated. Stacey Abrams was a clear example of that. The reason why she didn't win in Georgia is because someone cheated. The soft bigotry of low expectations has obviously been pushed out there, regularly on every basis. Look, we've turned around. We're talking about an administration, and we're talking about Barack Obama and liberals in general. This is an administration that literally said in public, okay, that food stamps was a stimulus package. Okay? They actually said that $1 in food stamps creates $3 in revenue. $1 in food stamps. Okay? Tom Millsap, who is the former Secretary of Agriculture, which is in charge of food stamps, was asked on MSNBC, was asked what the Obama administration was doing to tamp down the amount of people going on food stamps, because that number had, of course, increased to exorbitant numbers. What Tom Millsap was doing to bring those numbers down. Tom Millsap on national television said, we are actually putting out troops, in his words, to Texas, California, and Florida, the three largest states in the union, to get more people to get their benefits. The reporter was asking what we're doing to get people off food stamps. The Secretary of Agriculture responded by saying we're expanding the program. Okay? So up is down, down is up when it comes to these people. They don't care. They never, ever have cared. The objective is to do nothing and to make sure that they have a permanent underclass. That permanent underclass, by design, is for black and brown people. Brown and black people for one reason and one reason only. Not just to create the nanny state. No. That is to depend on government as their parents. And when I say their parents, not just to get the father out of the house, okay? Almost to get rid of the mother as well. That everything it is that you get in life or should get in life should be supplied to you by the government. Because if the government gives it to you, you never have to worry about it at all.
You know something, brother? That's a good point, but it's one other underlying thing there, and a lot of people forget this. If you remember when they were talking about all this Russian body stuff, then they also, like today, the media is attacking Donald Trump because he admitted that 2.3 million jobs have came back in the last month, and they were attacking him for using George Floyd's name. He's saying George Floyd would be happy that the jobs were out. Maybe he shouldn't have said that, but what I'm saying, for them to be attacking the economy, you know, you're supposed to want people to work, I thought, but obviously they want you to be, oh, let me get some food stamps, let me get this. You are trying to breed in a welfare state. You've done that for the last 60 years with black folks. Now you're trying to do it to everybody, breed in a welfare state. You know, down there in
it's always going to be the state. It's always going to be the state of our union, unfortunately, when it comes to, listen, again, and this is not about politics, this is about ideology. And sadly enough, that there are people that are on the other side, and they're not just Democrats, some of them are just leftists. They're statists. And the objective is, unfortunately, is that they believe in their heart of hearts that you, as a human being, cannot govern yourself. You are incapable. And you need the elitist. That's what you need, the elitist. You need the academics. You need the smartest minds and the smartest people to dictate your life for you because you make poor decisions. You buy guns. We can't have that. You want to have a gun in your house? We can't have that. So we govern you with gun control. You want to have a big house and you want to make a whole lot of money? We start saying things like, but how much money could you possibly have? Right? They immediately you can't have that much money. What are you going to do with all of that money? All of a sudden, and that's the part that used to freak me out. I remember when black people actually started saying that being wealthy made you no longer black. That once you made a lot of money, you would left
let me tell you something. Wait a minute. Let me tell you something that I learned. I learned this in I want to say 7th or 8th grade. I got a job where I was working as a bike messenger, and I realized that people were laughing at me because I was hustling as hard as I possibly could. And after a couple of days, somebody pulled me to the side and said, "Man, you got to stop all that working. You're going to get paid the same amount anyway. Just cool out with us." And I realized at that moment that I could only either work for myself or work for commission, because for me, I want to be paid based on how hard I work. And I realized that those are the two competing ideologies in society on a larger scale, where you have people that want to be paid based on how hard they work, and then people that don't want to work at all and they want to share the benefits of other people's labor. So I think those are some interesting conversations that we got to walk down those roads too, because that plays a key into how this stuff plays out, where you see people robbing and looting, and all of this is like a powder keg waiting to explode.
Well, no, hold on. Well, we've got to, listen to me, there's a big problem with that, and I told you this, and I had this conversation with none other than Russell Simmons when he was talking about the hood is good. He and I were having a discussion. He was like, you don't understand, man, the hood is good. I go, no, how is it good? Every kid that I know is in the hood wants to get out of the hood. They want to make money. They want to make bank. They want to live in a nice house. They probably want to live in a nice community. Everybody. But you are preaching to them that it is noble to be poor. It is noble to be struggling. Like, you can't be one of us
if you don't recognize and accept your life in struggle. Like, you are not authentically black unless you recognize and live the struggle. Once you no longer struggle, you're no longer a part of it. And
I'm
I've
gonna tell
never
you,
ever understood
I
it.
I believe that glorification of the struggle only supports the private prison system. That's just how I believe. I just see it that way.
Couldn't agree more.
Let me say something. Here. Does anybody get the feeling that we're kind of getting out of our role? We're not convenient little polar bear walking along on a beach as the ice caps are melting and dying, or we are not being nice little sad-looking dogs, or maybe we are being sad-looking dogs, that are out in the cold and want low love, and you got to give $19.95 a month to ASPCA to save the puppies and all that stuff. I mean,
Yes, sir. No, but see, you know what? That struggle, Judge, that struggle is the struggle that I have to deal with, and not only that, I welcome it. And, I do plenty of podcasts, and I'm on plenty of shows, and I always say this one thing, is that, a lot of people like to preach the idea that that they get their strength by believing a certain ideology and following the lead, or goose-stepping, as I like to call it, with everyone else. And I say true strength is bucking that system. Conventional wisdom is garbage. Conventional wisdom, in every culture, conventional wisdom is bullcrap. Okay? True strength is being able to walk out on your own, to find your mission, to see your true ideology, the stuff that doesn't make sense to you, to actually break it down, to decompose it, to break it down, to decompose it, and to find out the truth. And if it doesn't conform to what everybody else is doing, you must expose it, you must fight against it, even if the masses are beating you down trying to force you to change back. That is true strength.
Wait a minute, Reese. You getting ready to start sounding like people going to say you sound like Trump.
I'm sorry.
Once you start talking about being accountable for yourself, providing for yourself, being self-responsible, right? You're starting to sound like Trump.
No, but see, there's no truth to that. But see, the bottom line is look, we've grown up in this world, where I'm going to give you a brief story. The reason why I became a conservative. I'm not a Republican. I am a conservative. I call myself a Reagan conservative. I've been a Reagan conservative since I was 10 years old. I was born in 1969, the day before Woodstock, August 14th. When I was 10 years old, Ronald Reagan was running against Jimmy Carter, 1980. And when he was running, every person I knew in my neighborhood of Hollis, Queens, hated Ronald Reagan. They couldn't stand him. He was the Antichrist to them. That was when I realized that I was a critical thinker, because I looked at the people who were telling me when they saw Ronald Reagan on TV how much they despised him, and I looked at their lives. Not that I judged them. I just looked at their lives. We had been living with 4 years of Jimmy Carter. New York City, we were seeing over 3,000 murders a year. The President of the United States, Jimmy Carter, said that we had to deal with the malaise of the United States, that we had to deal. This was the new normal. And here was a guy who was on stage talking about a Chinese city on the hill where people would look onto America with hope and would want to come here to build their lives and make a stronger America. And what I was seeing were people in my neighborhood who were shouting that down as if they were applauding misery, as if they were encouraging the malaise. They were okay. It made no sense to me. And I had to keep finding out, what is this guy talking about that's making all of them so angry? And as I started to listen to him speak, him being the great communicator, as his moniker goes, I started to see myself as not this kid in the hood that everybody was telling me was never going to be anything, couldn't be anything because I was black, that the white man was never going to let me be those things. And he was the guy telling me that I could. Now think about what a critical thinker at 10 years old is saying when the people that he knows, loves, and respects and trusts are telling him he can be nothing and a man that I don't know from a hole in the ozone layer is telling me that I can. What should I do? I chose the latter. There was no way I was going to listen to the people. I had to defy them. I had to defy my grandmother. I had to defy my grandfather. I had to defy my mother. And my friends and siblings, all alike. I had to defy them. And I had to support them. And I talked about Ronald Reagan everywhere I could. Everywhere I could.
Think that's I think the true struggle is the struggle to be yourself. And I think that is the main problem that people are struggling against. And I think that goes all the way up the flagpole to the status quo. And I think one of the most important things that the officer brought up that I'm definitely going to take with me and discuss on my platforms is busting up this police union, political party, backdoor brigade that seems to be influencing everything that we are talking about, but nobody's directly speaking to them. So I think that's a big key with this whole status quo and this whole baloney that's going on.
Okay, now, educational. Hold on one second. Hold it, everybody. An educational moment. We just got to that point. You said we should bust up these police unions because of their negative influence on the lives of black people in the cities, right?
Yeah.
When you hear calls for black unity, and when somebody mentioned talking about social media is the way it can happen, believe that these same people you want to bust up already have in place a mechanism that results in them paying attention to social media so they can bust up any nascent organizations or developments that may intrude on their sphere of influence. In other words, I have, let's say, a young play nephew type, and he's always talked to me. His job working for the feds is to listen in on media, social media, other media, and come up with counters to it so it gets no place. So when we talk about the danger of a collective that's already in place, been in place for a century, be aware of the fact that when we try to do the same thing, somebody is going to come back and bust them up just like they did in the 60s when people were doing what you see the police unions doing or having done in the past. When we started doing it, they infiltrated them, put agents in, snitches in, and destroyed them from within. And they're right along with, we got 50 years of glorification and dysfunction, so we don't even think like regular people anymore. So it's something to consider.
I don't want to bust up the police.
I think the officer had a good. But I think the other piece that the officer said was also probably now that you said that, now it's making more sense in terms of adding protections for the whistleblowers so that the people that are on the inside of those organizations that would bust them up have that freedom.
Yeah. Now get this. I interviewed this guy who was a sergeant detective. He's a black cop in Chicago. The governor let him out of jail, commuted his sentence. He didn't do anything. He was exposing some of the police unions in Chicago some years ago. And he had an evening part-time job as a railroad detective with IC Railroad. Well, in Illinois, police officers have their vehicle licenses recorded as being assigned to police officers, right? So 3 or 4 very active people in the police union, cops, they called out some other police, and they fired 121 rounds into this man's truck, and they hit him 23 times. They thought he was dead. They even put a sheet over him, but somebody working in the morgue heard him breathing, and it turned out that, strangely enough, he was still alive. Well, they tried to prosecute him and did so on a trumped-up series of charges to get him convicted of especially aggravated assault for getting shot 21 times, and he's a detective, and he was exposing the unions. See, but that was before all this mess hit the fan a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. And then we get Miss Fox, Kim Fox, in there, who says she was going to break that up. And the first thing she does of note is she lets Juicy Jesse go after he's indicted on multiple felony counts for this crap he did to fake his attack for purposes of getting the anti-lynch bill passed in Congress. See, what's going on here? That's exploitation. Got to pay attention. But I guess that's the way we're used to things, and we like it because we can tell you what our favorite basketball players are doing, football players and baseball players, and what the Kardashians are doing, and who's got his hair styled this way. Oh, Wade put pink in his hair. You know, we can tell you all about that, but we don't pay attention to these things that impact our lives. Wade being punk and putting pink in his hair and punked his son out, so everybody is talking about, oh, how impressive. You know, that isn't going to get you killed, but this stuff that you're ignoring to pay attention to that will get you killed. All right? That's the word up.
So I don't believe in breaking up. I don't believe in breaking up police unions. I do agree with the officer in the idea of there being some sort of financial blowback for discretion, if you will, within there has to be some standing game for police officers. Because, you know, I look at Freddie Gray. I look at the Freddie Gray situation. How did that at the end come out? We had the police officers who were acquitted. Now, I'm pretty sure that there are a bunch of people out there who are outraged at the idea that the police officers were acquitted. But, you know, the city is that the Freddie Gray family has to be made whole. So what do? Well, they set up $7 million to the Freddie Gray family. Well, who pays for that? It's obviously not the police union, obviously not the police department. The taxpayers do. So in some sort of way, punitively, the taxpayer is now responsible for Freddie Gray's death. Regardless of where it is that you stand on it, I'm not cool with that if I live in Baltimore. I'm not cool with that. That's just as bad as people who make arguments about reparations in this country. There are people who are opposed to it, and the reason why senators and congressmen will never, ever vote for it, because you cannot tell the American citizens that you, who's never, ever owned a slave, is now going to be responsible for paying back for slavery. People aren't going to stand for it. But yet, we sit idly by when Freddie Gray's family gets $7 million from the institution of taxes within the city of Baltimore. That the taxpayer is now on the hook for that money, and they willingly give it up because, again, for them, it's for obvious reasons, for PR and, you know, social justice. But it's still wrong. If you make the people who are responsible or the entities that are responsible to pay punitively, you're right. That is where you get situational change, not social justice change. You get situational change by making the parties who are responsible pay for it punitively.
I think also
let me make an observation here
from the officers.
Let me make an observation here.
Yeah.
Let me make a quick observation since you bring up Baltimore. I have a friend, I haven't talked to him in a while, lives in Baltimore, and it's a woman. She works in the DA's office, or did. She may be retired now, but she was complaining to me about the rat problem, how horrible the rat problem was. Well, a few months later, she's complaining to me about Trump talking about the dead congressman that represented the area and how it was so pathetic. Yeah, Elijah Cummings. Yeah, Cummings, yeah. And Trump said he was pathetic for having all of those rats in his district and doing nothing about it. And she's complaining to me about that. I said, well, didn't you just not long ago complain to me about the rats in the area? You know, well, yeah. I said, well, so why are you upset that somebody pointed out the obvious? Well, it was just rude. I said, well, do you want to change and keep with your Cummings, your representative and his ilk and all of that corruption, and you have rats, but you'd rather get upset at somebody for pointing that out to you? See, we don't think.
But, you know, I don't know what to tell you, Judge. To be honest with you, I'm sort of over everything it is that's going on. This is, I guess, that time in our lives where we're supposed to do this. We dealt with this with the situation with Mike Brown. We dealt with this with Trayvon Martin. We had, you know, a semblance of it with, what was his name, Castillo, Sandra Bland, Eric Garner. You know, Ben Shapiro said something that was incredibly interesting, and it's the fraud that I cannot stand, but he said something very interesting. He says, we know that it is not a systemic issue where white police officers take the lives of unarmed black people. How do we know that? Because we can remember the names. Would I ask any one of them, of the 750 people who died in Chicago in 2016 due to gun violence in that city in 1 year, if you were to ask them to name 2 and bet their life on it, they'd be dead. They don't remember them. They don't care. And they're never, ever going to care. We remember the names, and what I just said to you, why? Because we can. Because it's not a genocide. It's not systemic racism. It isn't. It just isn't. It's just an opportunity for us to perpetrate the fraud, as the media has always done, to perpetrate the fraud, to do what it is that they're set out to do, and that is to sell commercial time. We are nothing more than the movie of the week, unfortunately. That's what we are. We are a T-shirt. Black strife in the country is nothing more than a movie of the week and a T-shirt. We are a hashtag in a hashtag culture until we move on to the next dilemma. To give you a perfect example of what it is that's happening today and to show you how much nonsense this is, before the death of George Floyd, we were scared to our wits about the coronavirus. We were not allowed to be next to each other, to see each other, to go to each other's homes, to hug each other, to go to places of worship, to go into stores without wearing a mask, to go to work, to run our businesses. George Floyd died, and now people are arm in arm, less than 6 feet from one another, all marching down the streets, not wearing masks, and taking a knee and shaking each other's hands and hugging and kissing one another. While the virus is
spreading on each other, bleeding on each other.
That's right. While the virus has already taken 106,000 people's lives in the country, now all of that is completely poof and disappeared.
Can I add something real quick to that, if you don't mind? I apologize for interrupting.
Of course,
but America also conveniently dismissed 500 white folks sitting on a beach at the height of the corona pandemic and said nothing about the people who marched in and took over a state capitol without a police officer present, mind you, and had any of them been black other than Sheriff David Clark, who I personally have problems with. They would have been shot on sight, detained, or we'd have been looking at another video. That's the truth of it. So I'm not disputing what you said. I agree 1,000% with what you said. But I won't give white people a pass either on this. And it's not to make it a racial issue, but it is to say that there was a little clip, oh, look at these people. We are seeing vast majority of white folks, by and large, who want the restaurants open, you would think the corona never existed looking at them. I'm here in Atlanta, black capital of the world, other than Africa. And black folks, by and large, are wearing masks. They are doing. But, I just, and I'm not saying it's either way across the board, but I see how white people get a pass for not wearing masks, I don't want to stay home. I should be able to go on spring break. But then the police stopped 10 black guys on the beach. What about the 300 white people in the background?
Oh, that happens up close and personal in the post office.
But this is the social media privilege that white people enjoy. That's why they're caught on these videos doing the racist things they do, because they're going to get a media, not social media, but a media pass. Black people have learned how to use social media to document things. And things have gotten, when people say things have gotten worse under Donald Trump, no, they haven't. They've just gotten video.
Did you enjoy this audio? We sure hope you did. Today's show is sponsored by My Olive Leaf. Please visit myoliveleaf.biz to shop for olive leaf extracts, which will assist your efforts to transform your life, detox your body, increase your energy, get restful sleep, and rid your body of antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal properties. Do not delay. Contact the MOL reps today. Please visit myoliveleaf.biz for their full line of olive leaf extracts and moringa products. Oh yeah, for those of you who would like a personal consultation, please call the MOL reps at 612-567-3263. Also visit their website and social media pages for the latest on sales, new releases and more. Have a great day. See you in the comments section.